Thank you very much. The board meeting of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its component units is now called to order. On September 18th, the Audit Committee and the Committee on Finance met in executive session. Earlier today, the Committees on Operations and Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management met in public session. The Committees on Finance met in executive session. Their reports will be filed with the official minutes of today's board meeting. The Commissioners also met in executive session earlier today to discuss matters involving ongoing negotiations for reviews of contracts or proposals, matters related to the purchase, sale, or lease of real property where disclosure would affect the value thereof or the public interest, and to discuss and act upon matters related to the proposed, pending, or current litigation or judicial or administrative proceedings. At this time, we would like to call a moment of silence in remembrance of the 18th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, terrorist attacks of the World Trade Center, and those who lost their loved ones on this terrible day, which included 84 friends and colleagues from the port, as well as the first responders and recovery workers who were lost as related to the 9/11 related illnesses and sicknesses. I would also ask that we remember those who perished in the 1993 bombing of the World Trade. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. 9/11 remains the worst day in our Port Authority history. However, during and in the aftermath of September 11th, 2001, there were many people who exhibited extraordinary valor, heroism, and courage following the events. Here at the port, we had 174 Port Authority and PATH employees were presented with September 11th Commendation Awards in recognition of such acts of courage and valor. Recipients of this medal, which included both representative and non-representative staff, were also awarded an extra vacation day annually for the duration of their employment with the Port Authority, or PATH. In 2012, as a part of the comprehensive set of benefit reforms, the annual vacation day was eliminated, but only for non-represented employees. As a result, today's representative and non-representative individuals are treated differently for comparable acts of heroism. In order to provide equal treatment for both representative and non-representative employees who took valorous acts on September 11th and thereafter, I am proposing a resolution authorizing the reinstatement of this reward for the 19 active non-representative Port Authority and PATH employees who received the commendation in recognition of exceptional acts of bravery and judgment performed by those employees, effective this year. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any Commissioner recusals.
No recusals.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Vote, please.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Ede.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
Item is approved. At this time, we ask to hear from our Executive Director, Rick Cotton, on his report.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, our most intense and wide-ranging focus over the summer has been the public hearing and public comment period on our recommended increases of tolls, fares, and fees. These are the first increase proposals in 5 years. Also, we had comment on our recommended revisions to the Port Authority 2017 to 2026 capital plan. The board will hear shortly from our Chief Financial Officer and from our Chief Development Officer on these subjects. But my emphasis as a prelude is twofold. First, we listen carefully to all comments and feedback. We are recommending 2 significant changes based on that feedback, and we are reaffirming our other proposals. Second, I would emphasize to the board and to everyone that to improve our legacy and in many cases subpar infrastructure facilities, we must invest. To achieve 21st century transportation facilities, which is what this region deserves, requires funding. The Port Authority Capital Plan supports investing billions upon billions upon billions in our airports, which by everyone's consensus are far below global standards. We are investing billions upon billions upon billions in our bridges, tunnels, and terminals, most particularly on a replacement bus terminal. We are investing billions in PATH, and we are investing in our port. All of these facilities drive economic activity, supporting literally hundreds of thousands of jobs. The Port Authority derives fully 2/3 of its revenues from non-toll and non-fare sources, largely from our business partners. We make every effort to maximize this revenue. But tolls and fares remain key pillars of the revenue to support our infrastructure investments. The increases that we have proposed are heavily inflation-based, but we must reverse decades of underinvestment, and our funding sources must keep up with inflation. We simply must have revenue sources to support our investment. That is what the largest capital plan in Port Authority history does. We are committed to reversing the prior underinvestment. And that is the basis on which the tolls, fares, and fees proposals that are before you have been formulated and which are recommended to you to adopt today. You will hear shortly the details on our proposals and on the public comment from our Chief Financial Officer and from our Chief Development Officer. Before I turn the floor over to them, I want to touch briefly on 4 other areas. First, our facilities continue to handle record operational volumes. At the airports, JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia all continue to show extreme strength in the month of August. Newark Airport handled the highest number of passengers for any August in its history. JFK and LaGuardia and the airport and the Port Authority's airport system as a whole had their second busiest August in Port Authority history. Overall, the airports had the busiest summer in the entire history of the Port Authority. The airports are on track to set another annual passenger volume record. The Port Department's streak of record-setting months continues. The port set a record cargo volume for any single month in its history, a healthy 4% over August last year, but also set a new August record for cargo handled by rail. Bridges and tunnels. In August, the New Goethals Bridge once again handled a record number of eastbound vehicles, up close to 3% over the previous record set last August. TB&T's crossings overall in August continued their steady growth of the last 5 years, up 1% over August 2018. PATH moved more than 7 million passengers in August with an average weekday ridership of approximately 280,000 passengers, and that average weekday ridership also represents a new August record with the sole exception of the artificially high summer of hell. Other public comment that the agency conducted over the summer concerned the bus terminal replacement. On September 18th, the 120-day public comment period concluded. That process solicited comment on the bus terminal replacement project's planning level scoping document. Comments were received from 247 commentators. Comments were collected both online and a series of 4 public hearings split equally between New York and New Jersey. Commenters included elected officials, and overwhelmingly, commenters recognized the need for a replacement bus terminal. Many of the elected officials who commented also commented on the extent of the outreach that had taken place. Now, in addition to the strong support to build the replacement bus terminal facility, fully adequate to meet bus commuter needs, themes from commenters include the following. Requests that the Port Authority address the matter of curbside intercity buses that pick up and drop off passengers on city streets around the bus terminal, address the need for off-street bus storage for buses that use the bus terminal, avoid designs that would require the taking of property, provide additional green space, and promote environmentally sustainable operations, and offer significant opportunities for local retail and lively street-level activations. We continue to be committed to 2 twin goals. First, to build a new bus terminal, And second, to move this project forward in full consultation with the local community surrounding the bus terminal. Very importantly, with respect to cashless tolling, on September 4th, earlier this month, the Goethals Bridge became the third and final of the Port Authority's 3 Staten Island bridges to implement cashless tolling. This milestone advances the Port Authority's commitment to implement all electronic tolling at all of our crossings by 2021, a strategic objective that underscores the agency's commitment to 21st century technology standards, as well as faster, more efficient, and environmentally friendly traffic management practices. Finally, I want to just touch briefly on our customer experience initiatives. In addition to our airport's $30 billion investment program to bring our airports up to 21st century standards, we continue to focus on more detailed customer experience initiatives. At our airports, all 3 JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia were each accredited in early August by Airports Council International, the global airport association, for the breadth of their customer experience initiatives. Second, at our airports, Ookla, an independent company that rates internet connectivity speed and performance, released its rankings of the fastest airport Wi-Fi speeds at U.S. airports. The report of the evaluation noted that our airports had nearly tripled download speeds. What's more, JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia each ranked in the top 30 airports in the U.S. and Canada for fast Wi-Fi, with LaGuardia coming in 13th. While it's not at the head of the pack, it is probably one of the few airport surveys in which our airports were not totally at the back of the pack. Our airport websites are now mobile friendly. They now receive a combined average of 633 page views per month, which is up over 18% compared to a year ago. And these websites now provide real-time security and taxi wait time information, real-time updates on availability of parking, and we've begun to roll out real-time custom wait times on the websites for our international passengers at Newark and Kennedy. This real-time information enables travelers to have information by which to anticipate the wait times they will experience and to plan their trips accordingly. At PATH, we have initiated a major countdown clock program which provides travelers with information as the time within which the next train will arrive. 2 years ago, PATH had not a single countdown clock. At the beginning of 2019, PATH had 50 in-station countdown clocks, but as of 2 weeks ago, PATH now has more than 260 screens displaying next time arrival information. We have installed a mobile-friendly app at PATH. That app allows PATH riders to access real-time updates on the next arriving trains on their smartphones and has been now downloaded by more than 126,000 users, up 40,000 since the start of the year. At the bus terminal, there is now a My Terminal app which allows users of the bus terminal to access gate assignments and information on services and amenities within the terminal. And it has now passed 60,000 downloads. Across all of our facilities, we are upgrading restrooms, which are very high on the list of passenger amenities that passengers value. We have renewed all 17 bathrooms at the bus terminal and are in the midst of a renovation program for more than 300 restrooms across all of our airports. We are committed to improving customer experience. We are committed to our investment program, and we are moving forward on all fronts. With that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? Okay, at our June meeting, this board authorized a public comment period and series of public hearings to hear from the public on our proposed changes to the agency's tolls, fares, and fees, as well as a reassessment and modification of our 10-year capital plan. The public comment period is closed, and as stated in June, we would come back in September, now, to take action on these matters. Therefore, our next order of business is a presentation by our Chief Financial Officer, Libby McCarthy, who will discuss proposed changes to the Port Authority tolls, fees, and fares. and the proposed changes were posted on the Port Authority website on June 28th for public comment. In addition, 7 public hearings were held in various locations throughout New York and New Jersey. The public comment period closed on September 13th. Libby will provide an overview of the nature of the comments received as part of her presentation. Libby.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So as you mentioned, in June, we did present a series of comments, and we're happy to come back and report to you on the outcome of that robust comment period, including recommendations, and then request adoption of the proposals. But first, I just want to reframe some of the discussion that we had in June. As Rick talked about, the Port Authority's airports, trains, bridges, tunnels, and terminals are vital to the region and the regional economy and the national economy, and they're experiencing record or near record activity. The Port Authority is charting a different path with its largest capital plan in its history, $32 billion adopted in 2017, and with the request today to move that to $37 billion. And we're delivering on that unprecedented level of investment as we're transforming our facilities to 21st century standards. And as we talked about in June, there is tangible progress toward that development and moving those facilities forward, and it's visible throughout the region, including just yesterday's groundbreaking on the new consolidated rental car facility at Newark Airport. The Port Authority is moving the slides forward, sorry. The Port Authority is a self-funded independent agency that does not rely on taxpayer dollars or funding from the states of New York or New Jersey. And as Rick also mentioned, we work very hard to maximize our non-toll and non-fare revenues, with nearly 2/3 of our revenues coming from those non-toll, non-fare revenues. In addition to that, we work to leverage and maximize private sector investment through public-private partnerships. Nonetheless, the Port Authority's tolls, fares, and other fees have not increased in years, and they're not keeping pace with inflation, and as such, additional funding is required. That is why we put forward to you proposals for public comment that will keep pace with inflation, are consistent with peer agencies, and remain true to the prior board actions in 2008 when it adopted an inflation adjustment mechanism for tolls, which was affirmed by the board in 2011, and again, which many of the actions that we proposed to you in June were considered when the board adopted the capital plan in 2017, the 2017 through 2026 capital plan. These changes address bridge and tunnel tolls, path fares, air train fares, and a new ground transportation access fee. So now let me turn to the public comments. At the board's direction, as you mentioned, we had 6 hearings, 3 in each state. They were in the evening and the day, and we had a board representative from each state at each hearing. We also held a 7th hearing on Staten Island as a result of severe weather on the night of the first hearing in Staten Island. We had 452 attendees at those hearings, with 111 people commenting. Written comments were also accepted via our website or through the mail from July 17th through September 13th. In total, we received 1,304 public comments. Those comments were, a summary of those comments were shared with you on September 19th. And the majority of the comments were focused around 3 broad themes. Broad opposition to the changes to the bridge and tunnel tolls, particularly with respect to the scheduled bus tolls. Opposition to modifying the New York-New Jersey Staten Island Bridge Discount Plan. And opposition to the new airport ground transportation access fee. Based on these comments, we are recommending 2 modifications to the June proposals. I'm going to walk through each of the categories of proposed changes for you right now. So first, bridge and tunnel tolls. In total, we had 1,182 comments with respect to the bridge and tunnel tolls, particularly, again, the bus tolls. 970 comments opposed the scheduled bus toll increases. They comments cited the high cost of commuting in the region and requested that the bus tolls be discounted or free to encourage the use of mass transit. 212 comments broadly opposed the bridge and tunnel toll changes, citing the region's cost of living, including its high tax burden and the level of the existing tolls and the adverse potential impact on people with fixed incomes. Our recommendation is to adopt the bridge and tunnel toll increases. They keep pace with inflation and are consistent with peer agencies, and as I mentioned before, remain true to prior board actions. With respect to the bus tolls, after consideration of the scheduled bus toll increases, when it's spread amongst the riders and the fact that it is also moderated and phased in over a 6-year period, those bus tolls will remain well below the auto toll rates in the period. So we don't believe that that will disincent bus ridership. So here are the proposed actions, just to frame that for you. Effective January 5th, 2020, we would increase the auto, cash, and toll by mail rate by $1. We would also reduce the Easy Pass peak discount from $2.50 to $2.25, and the Easy Pass off-peak discount from $4.50 to $4.25. We would make adjustments across the other vehicle classes comparably. Thereafter, we would implement an inflation-based adjustment mechanism. The first being when the increase in the cumulative impact of CPI reaches $1 on the cash auto rate, with one further reduction in the Easy Pass discount of 25 cents. Thereafter, we would preserve the $2 differential for Easy Pass autos off the peak and $4 thereafter on the off-peak. From there forward, we would apply an automatic inflation adjustment mechanism annually. With respect, we also recommend that we discontinue the carpool discount in light of the implementation of all electronic tolling across all of our facilities, as well as to address the ongoing safety issues we have with the current program. And then, consistent with other tolling agencies in the region, we propose that we limit the Easy Pass discount to users with a New York or New Jersey Easy Pass customer service account. Now, moving to the Staten Island discount plan proposal, we did receive 76 comments, all of them in opposition of the proposed modifications to the plan. The comments focused on two broad themes: the increasing cost of living on Staten Island, as well as the adverse impact the increased number of qualifying trips would have on residents' lives, particularly for those on fixed incomes. You may recall our original proposal was to set the toll rate at 50% of the Easy Pass peak auto rate, and therefore it would go from the current $6.25 to $6.88 effective January 5th, 2020. But we were also proposing that we increase the number of qualifying trips from 3 per month to 10 per month. Our modified proposal is to, again, set the toll rate at 50% of the Easy Pass peak auto rate, so to $6.88 effective January 5th, 2020, but to maintain the number of qualifying trips at 3 per month. Thereafter, we would propose that the toll rate to be maintained at the discount of 50% off of the Easy Pass peak auto rate, and it would move as automatic inflation-based increases for all auto Easy Pass tolls are reached. Moving on to the airport access fee, we received 25 comments regarding the fee, all predominantly in opposition. Opposing comments cited the taxi industry's financial challenges, the economic hardship the fee would cause for drivers, and concerns for passengers who may not be able to afford the fee. Based on extensive feedback and outreach, the rate is proposed to decrease for two key reasons. Recognition that the inaugural rate should be lower than peer airports that have had ample time to adjust fees in a measured and incremental way based on practical experience with the fees. And to ensure that there's sufficient service at the airports, recognizing that drivers are essential to airport operations. So what we are proposing is in the box at the bottom of the slide. So for hire vehicles, we are proposing a rate for pickup and drop-off of $2.50. For pooled for-hire vehicles, which we had not specified a rate for before, and that would be the app-based situation where you have two unrelated parties who are payers who get matched by an app and share a vehicle and share a ride. We are looking to set the rate for each payer at $1.25 for pickup and drop-off. And then for taxis, we are looking at a pickup rate of $1.25 in 2020 with no charge on drop-off, and that would phase to $1.75 in 2022, again with no charge for the drop-off. These would become effective in October of 2020 with that change, October 3rd of 2020, and then the 2022 change for the taxis would be October 1st. In addition to this modification of the proposal as it relates to the access fee, we also, in listening to the comments from the driver community, are implementing a series of measures to improve facilities at the airports for our drivers and address concerns raised during the public comment period. Moving on to the AirTrain fees. In addition to 13 comments that we received that opposed across the board all of the proposed changes, we had two comments directly related to the AirTrain fare changes. The comments asserted that the increase will adversely impact families and groups and encourage these riders to take autos as a more cost-effective option. Our recommendation is to modify or adopt the AirTrain fare increases as presented to you in June. And that's really because, again, as we said to you then, the fares have not increased since 2003 at JFK and 2005 at Newark. And we have a substantial investment that's needed to increase the capacity, improve customer experience, and keep pace with inflation. So we are recommending effective November 1st of 2019 that the single ride fare to and from JFK and Newark be set at $7.75. Thereafter, implementation of an inflation-based adjustment mechanism would be put in place. And then finally, path fares. Again, we had, beyond the 13 comments that opposed all of the fare, toll, and fee changes, there were no comments received with respect to the proposed changes in the path fare. So we are recommending the following path fare changes. Effective November 1st of 2019, we would maintain the single ride ticket at $2.75. But we would, consistent with with MTA, and reduce our multi-trip discount. So we would go from an equivalent single ride of $2.10 for a multi-fare card to $2.50. And then, effective November 1st of 2020, the single ride ticket again would remain unchanged, but we would have one more small decrease to the multi-trip discount, going from an effective single ride of $2.50 to an effective single ride of $2.60. Going forward, we would again apply an inflation-based mechanism for all the fares. Also, in evaluating the path fare proposed changes, we conducted an analysis under Title VI to determine whether the proposed path fare changes, if implemented, would have a disparate impact on minority customers or impose a disparate burden on low-income customers. Either of those two situations exist when a particular fare type is disproportionately used by minority or low-income customers. That fare type is adversely affected, and the percentage by which that fare type is increased is disproportionate to the overall fare change program. A fare type is disproportionately used by minority or low-income customers if the minority or low-income rate use exceeds the overall rate by at least 5%. Our equity analysis showed that the fare changes will not have either a disparate impact or disparate burden, and I will walk you through that. On this chart, you can see the layout of our various fare types and broken out between minority users and overall users, and you can see that there is no fare type for which a minority customer uses at least 5% greater than the overall user. So there is no disparate impact on minority customers from our proposal. And this chart shows our analysis for disproportionate burden on low-income customers, and you can see that the fare class that has the largest use by the low-income customer is our single ride product, or our base fare products, and that is the product that we are not changing in this proposal. So there is no disproportionate burden on low-income customers by our proposal. So overall, we are recommending or asking that the board adopt the proposed changes to tolls, fares, and other fees as presented to you in June with the two modifications I described today. Detailed schedules of the toll fare and other fee changes are available on the Port Authority's website, and in detail by type. These proposed changes are estimated to generate $235 million in incremental annual revenues. And in closing, it's that record infrastructure investment, which requires funding, and inflation-based increases in tolls, fares, and fees are necessary, appropriate, and the only, in my opinion, the only responsible course of action available to the Port Authority. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Libby. Any commissioners have any comments or questions? Yes,
Mr.
Commissioner,
Chairman.
yes.
Maybe more appropriate for the executive director. I know from previous reports that the executive director and the entire senior staff was done such a great job with engaging with New Yorkers and New Jersey residents who may have had some concerns. We heard from the driver community about workplace conditions, and my understanding is that significant commitments have been made by the Port Authority staff to the community, and so I did want to ask the executive director if he could comment.
I think the executive director who's outlined that in the executive would be the appropriate individual to respond.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a result of the public comment periods, we not only received written comments from the taxi community, but we engaged in extensive consultations with them. We have made commitments. We've made commitments to bring the airport drivers, the drivers of both taxis and FHV vehicles, into consultation. With the airports, we have made commitments that related to improving facilities at the holding lots. We've made commitments to put in meditation facilities. We've made commitments to improve communications to both the taxi and FHV community about changes particularly in construction areas so that they can navigate the airports better. Specifically within the taxi system at the airports, the Port Authority provides dispatch systems. We have pledged to work with the drivers to improve those and bring them up to best-in-class standards. We've also committed, again, broadly to the taxi community and to the FHV community that as we establish pickup arrangements, new facilities. We will consult with them in the interest of both greater convenience to passengers and making it as easy as possible for the services to operate. And finally, we have made commitments to upgrade significantly our enforcement actions against illegal hustlers at the airports. Those services are both a danger to customers because they raise safety and insurance concerns because they are operating illegally. And of course, they provide completely unfair competition to the legitimate services and to the honest and hardworking drivers. And we are committed to move toward a zero tolerance policy on that front.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' comments? All right, we're going to defer voting on this matter until after we've heard the public speakers under the public speakers program. Thank you, Libby. For the next order of business, our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, will discuss the reassessment and proposed changes to our 2017-2026 capital plan, as well as the nature of the comments received from the public. Derek?
Great. Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Just as background, in February 2017, the Board adopted the 10-year $32 billion capital plan, which we currently operate under. The plan is balanced with priorities in every department. You'll see on this slide in the airports department, Newark Terminal 1 and LaGuardia redevelopment, tunnels, bridges, and terminals, the Port Authority bus terminal funding, the new Goethals Bridge, and the Restore the George program at the George Washington Bridge. Within the ports, the Greenville Yards Intermodal Container Facility, and within the World Trade Center, completion of the site-wide infrastructure, transportation hub, and retail complex. Every 2 years, we have a commitment to reassess the capital plan. This is the first reassessment in this 10-year capital plan. And the point is to consider both current conditions, the validity of the state of good repair assessment, available capital capacity to the extent that changes, and to incorporate prior board actions that happened during that 2-year period. So as I said, this is the first biennial reassessment, which was completed and presented to the board in June. And at that time, the board authorized the executive directors to solicit public comments on this proposal. Public comments were received at 7 public hearings and online and with mailed-in comments. We received 22 public comments, 18 of which supported the proposal and 4 of which opposed the proposal. The supportive comments generally cited benefits to the regional economy and thousands of well-paying jobs that were created. The opposing comments cited perceived mismanagement, cost overruns, and an overall negative view of the capital projects. Based on the low number of and the nature of the comments and the reasons that we explained in June for the capital plan changes, no adjustments to the reassessment are recommended. Just to remind you what we had recommended back in June, $4.8 billion in addition to the $32.2 billion capital plan, bringing the due total to $37 billion. But very importantly, of that $4.8 billion, $4.5 billion comes from incremental revenues associated with the projects. So that's 94% of this is funded by the projects. So what do I mean by that? Well, every effort is being used to identify project-related revenues, especially the non-toll, non-fare sources. So examples of that are higher rental income from terminals, so the use of the public-private partnership model and charging higher rents to our terminal operators, and in some cases higher airline cost recoveries. But recall again what Libby said earlier, 2/3 of the Port Authority revenues come from sources other than tolls, fares, and fees. And these are things like I just described, and concession revenue at the airports is another one. The $4.8 billion increase comes from 4 major projects, including a brand new AirTrain Newark and other airport investments, and 3 other new projects, including $200 million path improvement plan, investment in electric vehicle infrastructure, and planning funds for a new Terminal 2 at Newark. In summary, we believe the proposed reassessment of the 2017 to 26 capital plan provides a strong financially balanced plan. It reflects updated prioritization of SGR, state of good repair projects, and it ensures major improvements to the agency's vital infrastructure. And therefore, as I said before, we recommend the board adopt the reassessment as proposed for a total spending of $37 billion.
Thank you, Derek. Any comments or questions from any commissioners? Okay, we will defer this, voting on this matter until after the public speakers program, which has come upon us. We'll now provide an opportunity for members of the public to comment on Port Authority matters. This public comment period, which may be limited to 30 minutes, which will not be limited to 30 minutes in total, provides an opportunity for members of the public to present their views directly to the board, but does not provide for a dialogue. Members of the public wishing to discuss specific matters with the Port Authority staff are advised to contact our Public Affairs Department. Speakers are asked to comply with the fixed time of 3 minutes. We have 39 speakers who have signed up. About two-thirds have signed in, as well as signing up, and we'll take it one at a time. The first one is the Majority Leader from the great state of New Jersey, Senator Loretta Weinberg. Senator?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I think I heard in Libby's report there were 970 in opposition to the bus increase. Well, here comes 971. First of all, your chairperson asked how much easier it is for us to get to Jersey City than to the World Trade Center, and actually it isn't always that much easier, but we don't have to pay tolls in order to speak to you when you're in Jersey City. So we New Jersey residents appreciate that. And let me tell you why I am here specifically this afternoon. First of all, I'm pleased to see the reassessment to the 10-year capital plan, and that you are maintaining critical projects like the Port Authority bus terminal rebuild, but also expanding to include meaningful improvements to PATH and other airports. And also, I'm always happy to hear your executive director say the words bus terminal, so that I know that it doesn't fall down in the priority list. So, Mr. Cotton, again, thank you for including those words in your report. As you well know, I have been a longtime proponent of increasing Trans-Hudson capacity in any way we can. But I'm concerned by some of the proposed toll increases that you are considering today. And also, if I may a moment, I thank you for following the spirit of the bipartisan reform issues and having, I think, the 7 public hearings in all parts of our area and having representation from the actual commissioners at these hearings. So I want to thank each and every one of you for going beyond what your actual requirement is by law, but filling the spirit of the bill that we passed. But in particular, I'm questioning the rationale behind increasing tolls on buses. Under this proposal, a New Jersey Transit bus entering Manhattan during peak hours would eventually see an $8 toll increase when compared to today's rate. And as you know, it's sometimes 2 increases because of the lack of bus parking. The New Jersey Transit comes in with morning commuters, goes back to New Jersey empty, then comes back empty to bring back the returning commuters because of lack of parking here. So that bus is paying the toll twice, once for driving an empty bus back and forth. There are 2 main problems that I see with this plan. The first is perhaps the most obvious. Commuters should be encouraged to use mass transit options. The increased bus costs at the Lincoln Tunnel and the GW Bridge have the potential to depress bus ridership. I know when you divide it by 50 passengers, it doesn't sound like much, but it is much when it's added to the New Jersey Transit budget. As anyone who commutes to work through the Lincoln Tunnel can tell you, we do not have the capacity for any more car riders. The second problem is more difficult. I'm not so sure that New Jersey Transit has the financial strength to pay $8 more per bus traveling over the Hudson. In fact, even with the $50 million in addition, the state legislature added to New Jersey Transit's budget this year, the agency still faces an $81 million deficit heading into fiscal year 2021. I understand well that $8 per bus in the realm of 25 or 30 cents per riders on a full bus doesn't seem like a lot. But New Jersey Transit is a public corporation. It is not free to shift this burden onto its riders. And as I have said before, I don't think it makes sense to put additional costs on mass transit. New Jersey Transit is still recovering from years of mismanagement due to the prior administration and already faces a number of grave challenges. New Jersey Transit's health is of critical importance to maintaining Trans-Hudson capacity. It is by far the port's biggest customer at the bus terminal, and it runs most of the trains that terminate at Penn Station. As the organization charged with maintaining Trans-Hudson infrastructure, I would urge you to please reconsider these toll hikes on buses. For those of us concerned with increasing Trans-Hudson capacity, raising tolls on New Jersey Transit to pay the port is quite literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. Let me just add to that. Last night, the governor was in the town in which I live and work, in Teaneck, having a town hall meeting. There were several hundred people there, and of course, this issue did come up. And one of the residents, I don't agree with this, but it made me laugh, described the Port Authority as the wicked stepmother of NJ Transit, which, as I said, I didn't agree with it, but it was a rather funny, ironic remark. Having said that, I hope that you are not the wicked stepmother of NJ Transit, and that you will reconsider what this means. You are charging a public corporation that carries 500,000 people back and forth each day. So thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Senator. Christine Berthet.
This is a tough Thank you. I am speaking to you as the co-chair. I'm Christine Berthet, as the co-chair of transportation of CheckPEDS, and not as Community Board 4 in New York City. We applaud the increase in tolls and have the following comments. Follow up, I agree with Ms. Weinberg. The question is the off-peak hours rate really deterring users to travel at peak hours? In New York City, the vehicles that have accumulated throughout the day all want to leave at the same time and return to New Jersey. So the off-peak scheme does not alleviate for New Yorkers the congestion, gridlock, idling, air pollution, safety concern, and honking in our residential Hell's Kitchen neighborhood every day from 3 o'clock to 7 p.m. when we have queues of Lincoln Tunnel cars which are trying to get in the tunnel, which doesn't have enough capacity. So we sincerely hope that some of these funds that you are raising will be used to install gridlock cameras and deploy PA enforcement at key intersections in New York City, and to alleviate the delay nightmare, which is way worse than LaGuardia, in case you wondered. Based on the total number of travelers, commuter facilities like Penn Station and Port Authority Bus Terminal and Cross Hudson Transit need a lot more funding than, in my humble opinion, airports. We hope that the vast majority of this new revenue will be spent wisely on improving Cross Hudson mass transit, commuter connection and facilities, and expand the capital budget allocated to them. They are going to need it, a lot more of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Gretsch, Queens Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and Executive Director Cotton, my pleasure to be here today. My name is Tom Gretsch. I'm the President and CEO of the Queens Chamber of Commerce, the largest and oldest business association in Queens County. I represent over 1,100 members and 100,000 Queens-based employees. I'm also a co-chair of the Better Way to the LGA, a coalition in support of the AirTrain at LaGuardia Airport. Our coalition represents a wide range of local, citywide, and national organizations that support Governor Cuomo's proposal to bring AirTrain service to LaGuardia Airport. Today, as you discuss the capital plan of which the AirTrain is a part of, I want to share with you all the reasons why I and my fellow coalition members believe in the AirTrain and continue to advocate for its completion. Since we came here last time to speak, our coalition has almost doubled in size, demonstrating the great support for this project, not only in the great borough of Queens, but across the entire city of New York. Organizations as diverse as the Grand Central Partnership in Manhattan and Tech NYC have recently joined our ranks. There is no question, AirTrain LaGuardia will bring multiple benefits to Queens and the greater New York City region. As we all know, congestion is spreading across the city and through our outer boroughs, leading to worsening traffic that hurts Queens residents and businesses and LaGuardia air passengers alike. We believe AirTrain LaGuardia will help combat this trend by taking millions of cars off the road each year, just like the AirTrain did for the surrounding JFK communities. The connection to Willets Point will mean improved and regular Long Island Railroad service to Willets Point, which currently is only a special event station. This will bring benefits to Queens residents and businesses alike. Anyone who has flown in and out of LaGuardia Airport realizes that the worst part of the journey is to or from the airport. In fact, recent surveys have shown that nearly half of all business travelers, half, have completely avoided traveling to New York for business, which translates to a huge loss in regional economic activity. By 2030, an additional 6 million passengers will fly in and out of LaGuardia Airport. This will result in increased traffic and congestion on the Grand Central, which carries a vast majority of air travelers to and from the airport and in and around our area. Average travel times are skyrocketing, and they're only getting worse. It truly is essential that we provide a fast, reliable, and convenient public transportation connection at LaGuardia Airport. The coalition also wants to push back against a number of inaccuracies we have seen circulating in the media, including oversimplification around various alternatives to the AirTrain that have surfaced over the years. The FAA is currently analyzing alternative routes, and we look forward to the results of their analysis and moving into the next phase of this project. This is undoubtedly a bold and visionary infrastructure project. The current lack of transit options for LaGuardia passengers and resulting congestion is an issue that has plagued us for decades, and one we can no longer ignore. We have a unique opportunity to transform the entire travel experience to and from LaGuardia Airport, and in doing so realize massive benefits for the Queens community, the broader New York City region, and our entire economy. Not seizing this opportunity and allowing congestion to spread and even worsen would be a massive and irresponsible oversight. Thank you for your attention to our cause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Peter Brown, Councilman, City of Linden. Not here, okay. Alapka Sherpa. Ali Madi. Bavari Dezay. Victor Salazar.
afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back here in New Jersey and facing all of you folks. I want to personally thank Mr. Rick Cotton and everybody else who actually came together and discuss our situations at the airports. I've been driving in New York for possibly 30 years already, and I tell you that taxi drivers during those years has been abandoned. So it's worse than having a stepmother being abandoned that way, in the sense that our conditions have been very deplorable in terms of waiting time at Kennedy LaGuardia with bathrooms, everything. So this commitment that Port Authority is doing to make better the conditions for drivers in New York City, I hope that this commitment will prevail for another 30, 40 years, I hope. It's very important for us that we feel that we are part of the family of Port Authority. We're there every day. We're serving the airports continuously, 24 hours. The waiting time is just too long because of the greatest competition with Uber and Lyft. We all drivers waiting now an average of about an hour, 10 minutes to get a fare. So it's a long extended period of time, and we hope that these 21st century airports will also have the same consideration for drivers, not only for passengers, that we also need to feel that we're part of this 21st century remodeling of the airport. So this is one of the greatest concerns for us. We believe that if the greatest Port Authority police do the job in trying to find who are the hustlers at the airport, we hopefully to minimize this waiting time. So, I urge that this should be one of the priorities. The Port Authority going on forward. It's important for us to go out there and make some money. The last time we got a fare increase was in 2012, but now we don't even feel the fare increase. However, I truly hope that we will not be, through the years, neglected and left behind in the 20th century. I know I have not enough time, but I hope that you guys feel that we are part of New York City, that that wheel of progress that we all want to accomplish in the great city of New York. That's it.
To respond to you, and I normally don't, but to say we've heard you in those 7 hearings, we were all there, and you and your colleagues made a real significant impact to us, which, while we took the modifications and the changes that we did. And in terms of the crackdown, we have the superintendent who's right next to you, who's committed to making sure that the predators who are unlicensed are going to be dealt with appropriately. And hopefully the law enforcement on both sides of the Hudson will deal with them and take those infractions seriously. But in terms of the commitment that has been made to you and your organization, it is real. And the conditions that we've heard about, whether it's the archaic dispatch or whether it's the lack of bathrooms or praying areas or washing areas and others, or lack of Wi-Fi in some of your waiting stations, we are going to keep all those commitments. So we have heard you because you are part of our family.
Thank you. Well, if working 11, 12 hours for New York City driving, we want to have a dignifying day-to-day life and come back happy and home, obviously, and safely, and show that to the passengers, tourists that come to New York, that we're happy, that we're a happy nation. And so, when the tourists come to New York, the first person that they meet probably will be the cab driver, and the last person also will be the cab driver. So it's important that we feel that contentment in this. And in terms of policing the airports, I think is very important. I know that Port Authority has a newspaper, and we hope that in this newspaper will be delivered to the taxi lots at the airport, so we can be part of this. We want to see some articles on these newspapers in which we can see and monitor that, yes, that the police is doing their job, not only once a year. There is an article in the New York Times or Daily News about, that the police have done its job. No, we want to see it more often and, through reading these newspapers.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Salazar.
Thank
you. Lal Singh. Muhammadu Ali. Hazma Chowdhury. Yvonne Garrett Moore.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see you all again. I was here the first time, 2011. It was the last meeting for Christopher Ward, the first meeting for Mr. Foy. And I presented a concept called Aerotropolis, if you all remember. Some of you do. Excuse me. I'm here because the Port Authority has a responsibility to make sure that the neighborhoods that they operate and exist in are cared for, that it is not just on site. We are our brother's keepers. We are to be responsible to the neighborhoods in which we live in, particularly when you have the authority. So I just want to say, Director Cotton, that the infrastructure expands past the airport of Newark. I'm from Newark, where I'm speaking specifically for Newark International Airport, but for all airport communities. We are our brother's keepers, and we have to make sure that the neighborhoods in which we function in, that Port Authority resides in and has the authority in, impacts the neighborhood. It has residual impact. We need improved infrastructure in and around Newark International Airport. If the commissioners went to Newark International Airport community right now, it would be a sin and a shame before God to see what it looks like. It is in horrific, blighted condition. This speaks to the integrity of who we are as a people, as a community, and it speaks to who we are to our nation and to the global community as well. When they come into our airport, we want them to enjoy coming into our community as well, because it's an extension. We're all connected. The airport Aerotropolis concept is about connectivity and making sure that we are respectful, honorable, hospitable along the way. So people enjoy coming to Newark International Airport, and they enjoy lingering in the community when they fly in. We have not been able to afford the travelers that experience. We are at the bottom of the list of amenities and services at Newark International Airport. That is not acceptable. And I've shared this over the years, if 40 million travelers that come into Newark Airport spend just an extra $10 in our community, we're better off. And we cannot deny the community the opportunity to be able to flourish and grow. There are barriers that disconnect us from the airport to the community. We have to overcome those barriers. 1 in 9 should not be a barrier to the South Ward community from the airport. We have to create bridges and connect. So this capital plan has got to include the impact of the airport to its communities. And we really have to work closer to accomplish that. So thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so
Thank
much.
you. Mr. Weissman.
Chairman, Director, Commissioners, good afternoon. Last Friday, on the occasion of the UN Climate Action Summit, tens of thousands marched down Manhattan to protest complacency on climate change. Today, I will take stock of recent commentary and the implications for the agency, and you have copies of extended remarks. Greta Thunberg embodies a generational indictment on climate policy. Should her self-ban on air travel take hold, the implications for regional airports would be profound, including a secular shift in personal and business travel patterns, mandatory carbon offsets added to ticket prices, and cancellation of flights with insufficient capacity. In The New Yorker, Jonathan Franzen argues that while climate change can no longer be reversed, efforts to mitigate and adapt are not futile. Rather, they are morally and logistically imperative. As applies to the regional airports, higher temperatures will raise fuel consumption, decrease payloads, and require longer runways. Sea level rise, storm surge, and random weather patterns will increasingly disrupt operations. As concerns the region, transportation remains its largest category of emissions. And while the agency is ideally positioned to lead on mitigation, it continues to enable its customers to pump out vast clouds of carbon at ever-increasing rates. Should it choose, it could coordinate regional strategies, reduce costs, and accelerate compliance. As a key member of the American Association of Port Authorities, it would impact behavior across the hemisphere just by example. The word agency commonly defines an entity established to organize transaction between parties. It is also a literary term used to denote a character's ability to affect a narrative. For 100 years, the Port Authority has facilitated regional travel, but it has also presided over a massive expansion of its carbon footprint. In keeping with the times, it must now exercise its agency to bend the trajectory of the impending crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadia Small Lewis. Nadia. Margarita Seguro. Okay. Maximina Miller. Henry Pacheco.
Good afternoon. My name is Henry Pacheco, and I work as a cashier at JFK Terminal 2. I'm here today to support my brothers and sisters who work hard every day preparing food and drinks for flights out of JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia for the biggest airlines in the world, like American, Delta, and United. I work in food service inside the terminal for a concessions company, but we want you to know that airport workers have each other's backs. We are all in this together. We're negotiating our own contract and fighting for the same thing. As airline catering workers continue to fight for their affordable benefits and for airlines to pay their fair share, there are thousands of concessions workers like me who will back them to the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Samuel Santinella. Samuel.
Good afternoon, I'm Samuel and I live in Queens. So I rely on my bicycle to get around, mainly because it is the most affordable transportation option. As a low-income New Yorker, this is critical for my livelihood. But the risk of getting my bike stolen is frightening because I might not have the money to replace it and I can't afford paying for the subway and bus. So Unipod, Uni is super affordable and secure bike parking, and that's why I came all the way out here from Queens to support expanding it. At Journal Square, the new Unipod recently opened there has been a major success. If there is an opportunity to expand it and create the nation's first network of secure bicycle and scooter hubs, we should do it now. And there's no time to wait. With many people like me struggling to move around the city, and with climate change threatening to put much of this region underwater, we need to immediately support smart solutions like Uni. That's why I'm calling on the Port Authority leadership to expand Uni to more of its properties. Unipods would be perfect at PATH stations and at properties in Manhattan, such as the World Trade Center, the land above the Lincoln and Holland tunnels, and the Port Authority bus terminal. But don't forget about Queens. We should also put Unipods at LaGuardia and JFK airports, the Lefferts Boulevard Air Train Station, and Gantry Plaza State Park. So I hope the Port Authority considers expanding and doing so now. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I also appreciate the general sustainability actions the Port Authority is committed to, as well as this specific action of providing bicycle parking. And I would definitely welcome more Uni locations across the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Shepard?
Hi, thank you. My name is Laura Shepard. I work at Bike New York, and I also chair the Transportation Alternatives Queens Activist Committee. Thank you for welcoming Uni to Jersey City's Journal Square Path Station. This is a remarkable upgrade for bike commuters, and it has already created new opportunities for more people to incorporate their bikes and other micromobility devices in their daily commutes. I urge you to read the company's Twitter feed and see the testimonials of the pod's daily users. This positive addition to Jersey City can be replicated at Port Authority facilities all over the city. I rode my bike here from my apartment in Woodside, Queens today. My bike is unsecurely locked to a sign pole outside. That's my livelihood, transportation, and recreation rolled into one, unsecurely stored on the street. I do this often, but I wish I didn't have to. Fear of theft due to lack of secure bike parking is one of the main reasons more people do not commute by bike. In Queens, we have JFK, LaGuardia airports, and the Leffert Air Train Station. A growing number of airport employees bike to work to avoid vehicular congestion on the roads in and around the airports. A growing number of travelers would like to do the same, including business travelers, those who are only going for a few days, and backpackers. A lack of covered secure bike parking deters these people, forcing them to use overburdened transit options or exacerbate the very vehicular congestion on the Grand Central, Van Wyck, and other roadways. I'll also note that Unipods are modular and can be doubled and expanded to accommodate varying spaces and demand. If the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey continues to show leadership, we may one day have a long hallway full of bikes. We hope to work with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and New York City DOT to make bike access to and within our airports safe and feasible for everyone. Queens also has the ferry landing at Hunters Point. More of my neighbors are biking to the ferry to commute to downtown Manhattan since the New York City Department of Transportation installed bike lanes on Skillman, 43rd Avenues, and Queens Boulevard. More will do so as they fill in dangerous gaps. I attended the Journal Square Uni launch event on September 4th because I'm excited about the project's potential to benefit the entire region. Please create the nation's first network of secure bike and scooter hubs by expanding Uni to your other properties. Growing cycling will improve our air quality, reduce climate change, and provide transportation equity to the people who need it most.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Douglas Freeman? Noam Kogan?
I echo much of what Laura Shepard said. First of all, I'm here, with Transportation Alternatives and also for my own company. And the more bike-friendly, accessible, and secure bike locks and parking, etc., would really increase bike transportation much more and decrease congestion on the streets of, around here, and I'm sure, and certainly New York City where I live. So I think the more and sooner that gets done, the better things will be. I don't know if any of you guys has ever seen the Canal Street traffic going across the. I have, and I think that the more you guys can do on this, the better things will be all around. I was very happy to hear that PATH is not going to be increased with the basic fare. Congratulations, guys. And, that kind of thing we need more of that, not not less of it. You know, make it easier for cyclists, make it easier for people to get around. Thank you all.
Thank you. Francesca Royal?
Good afternoon. My name is Francesca Royal, and I'm a recent graduate of Hunter College and current resident of Brooklyn, New York. I care deeply about environmental sustainability and want to see the proliferation of cycling infrastructure as a way to cut carbon emissions and provide access to affordable transportation options. That's why I'm here today to ask the Port Authority to commit to expanding cycling infrastructure at its facilities. I commend the Port Authority for the progress it has made on sustainability and for committing to reducing its carbon emissions by 35% by 2025. The Unipod at Journal Square is a major aspect of this commitment. It enables more people to use environmentally friendly modes of transportation, such as bicycles and scooters. Expanding bike racks and bringing Unipods to additional locations is a great way to take further action. Currently, I use City Bike while my actual bike sits at home. In the last 2 to 3 years, I've biked nearly 500 miles using City Bikes and logged almost 400 total rides. I've actually paid almost $400 in membership fees, which is more than the cost of my actual bike, which sits at home collecting dust, because a lot of my friends have gotten their bikes stolen, and I wouldn't want to see my bike see the same fate. I want to bike to work, and I want to bike to more places. I'm currently about to start a job in downtown Manhattan, and I'm worried that there isn't a secure bike parking place near my job. My bike could get stolen or be damaged by the inclement weather. If an Unipod was located nearby the World Trade Center or really anywhere around downtown Manhattan, I would have secure bike parking and a weather-protected place to protect my bike during the day. And I can say the same for many of my colleagues and friends who would also like to bike to work and other places if it were possible that our bikes wouldn't get stolen or damaged just by parking them in public parking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Betty Crockett?
Good afternoon. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and in particular the South Ward in Newark, where the airport is located. And I'm looking for community responsibility from the Port Authority, and especially an access plan for the community, not only through bike riding, but also through pedestrian. And we need some, and because of the community responsibility, I like them to look at Newark, New Jersey, because we have that airport there and the seaport as a destination place rather than just driving through, because we do get the emissions and all that, the environmental negativity that comes through there. So I'm looking for you to step up on your community responsibility and engage us, the residents, not only our local officials. And I thank you very much. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
Melody Bryant?
Hi, my name is Melody Bryant, and thank you for letting me speak. I'm also speaking in favor of Unipod. I'm an avid urban cyclist and strongly believe in the alternative modes of transportation to transform cities. As I'm sure you know, transportation accounts for 27% of all carbon emissions. As Climate Week wraps up, it's clear we have no time to lose to mitigate the worst effects of climate change. We must move away from cars, and we have to do it now. The Port Authority is in a unique position to lead on this vital issue. At a recent trip to Journal Square, I saw the Unipod, and I thought it was really wonderful. What I love about it is it holds up to 20 bikes and scooters in the space of a single parking place. As a native New Yorker, I was completely envious. Why can't we have that where I live? New York has 3 million free parking places. Think of all the bikes we could store there and how much more efficient and clean that would be. This would be a great incentive for people to get to mass transit. Full disclosure, I don't work for Uni, but I'm a big fan. And one of the things that I liked about them are they're stylish, they're neat, they don't cause clutter, nobody's going to trip over them. They don't require a docking station or any hard infrastructure or attendance. And membership is ridiculously cheap. It's $2 a month. But most of the installation of Unipods would encourage thousands of people to ride public transportation in a clean and secure way. Judging by all the bikes I saw kind of haphazardly at Journal Square, people are already eager to do this. So Unipod offers a real incentive to build on this trend. I commend the Port Authority for its leadership at Journal Square, and I'm asking the board members to help bring Unipods to many of the Port Authority facilities, path stations, airports, transportation complexes, and office developments. New York and New Jersey's commuters need incentives to get out of their cars, and Unipod offers a great one. If the Port Authority expands Unipods, I can promise you the cycling community will not only be your biggest fans, but also your most frequent riders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom DeVito.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tom DeVito. It is a pleasure to be here this afternoon representing Transportation Alternatives. I am the Senior Director of Advocacy. And with over 150,000 supporters, we are New York City's largest advocate for walking, biking, and mass transit. And we want to congratulate the Port Authority on its successful pilot deployment of the Uni Secure Cycle Parking Hub at Journal Square. We are here to encourage the Port Authority to commit to expanding secure bike parking facilities at their other properties across New York and New Jersey. We know that in New York, there's a huge backlog of requests for bike racks from property owners and managers, documenting an overwhelming demand that is not being met by the city. This creates bottlenecks for growing cycling in New York City, and it could be easily addressed. One of the most consistent pieces of feedback that we get from our constituents is that New York City needs better bike parking infrastructure. We also see clear signs of the demand reflected in the initial success of the Uni pilot in Journal Square. Indeed, early usage numbers from these secure biking facilities augurs well for future growth. 150 people have signed up in just 3 weeks. The 20 spaces are filled to capacity every single day. And ultimately, Uni has started a waiting list in order to kind of keep up with the demand that it is currently unable to satisfy. So none of this ultimately is surprising for us. New York City has long documented that the most common reason New Yorkers are not commuting by bike is, one, danger from reckless drivers, but two, lack of secure space for bike parking. Ultimately, investing more in secure bike parking infrastructure discourages reliance on cars and encourages more adoption of bikes and scooters. This cuts carbon emissions. This improves access to transit. It reduces bike theft and improves transportation options for tens of thousands in the region. At every level, expanding secure bike parking is a win for commuters, it's a win for residents, and ultimately it's a win for the Port Authority. We encourage you to continue to expand this program. It works and makes life better for tens of thousands of people ultimately. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron Green? Okay. Paula Mayashnaud?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Paula Mahayosnan. I'm currently a resident of Jersey City for the last 14 and a half years. I'm a mother of two, and I'm here to talk to you about Uni. So about a month ago in July, when I was walking home from the PATH station, I noticed a blue mark out in tape, and it was there for several weeks. Until about August, I saw the build-out of Uni, and it piqued my interest. And I realized I'm like a secure, safe place to park my bike, which is awesome. I am a city bike rider. I live on the west side of Jersey City in Ward B in Kensington, and we have multiple city bike options. But if you're a mom dropping off your child at 8 o'clock, 8:20, by the time I pick up a bike and I ride it to Journal Square, all the spots are taken. So I have to ride my bike further down. So I'm riding around looking for a spot, even though City Bike picks the bikes up during peak hours. To have my own bike and just ride it to Journal Square and secure it is awesome. So this is my own personal experience. I have au pairs, and what we do is we encourage our au pairs to ride the bike. So I met Uni, they met me there, I had my au pair, I'm like, this is great. You can secure your bikes. You can bring our children to the Lowe's Theater on Saturday. We can, lock our bikes and feel secure. So it's not just me using it every day for work. It's also my family and my children saying, you know what, you can keep your bike locked. Because one thing for a child who's 9 and 6, they don't want to lose their bike. On the west side alone, personal experience from neighbors, you can't keep your bike on your porch. You can't keep your bike, in between your house, even though you lock it. People will just take it. People will take your bikes in the apartment building that you live in. So having Uni there is just another level of comfort that I can use my phone, I can use my key card, 9-year-old can do it and lock their bike. So thank you so much. I hope you can put one in Journal Square, in the PATH train, because for me to ride my bike from home to Journal Square is about 11 minutes. From my home to downtown is 24 minutes on my own personal bike. So if I had a place to park it, perfect. If not, I'll continue using City Bike and I'll just have to ride around to the open spot, which can add to my commute. So thank you very much. I just want to add one more thing. If you can expand opportunities for transportation on the south side of Jersey City, that would be fantastic. I can keep going, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, I love the green infrastructure. That's the first thing I took is the plants that are on top for green roofs. Thank you. I'm with the Jersey City Parks Coalition, and we encourage green infrastructure, so thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Patrick Conlon. Brian Sullivan.
Hey, thank you, Commissioners. I'd like to take a moment to thank and congratulate, Port Authority for partnering with UNI to establish secure bike parking facility at the Journal Square PATH Station. I first heard of UNI from a friend of mine earlier this year who was using the facility in Lower Manhattan, and I was like, wow, what a great idea. That's so cool. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had that in Jersey City, in Journal Square? And I was like, wow, that'll never happen. When is that going to happen? And just, a couple months later, now it's there. It's really a wonderful amenity. So I live in Jersey City. I'm not really a bike advocacy person. Live in Journal Square, about a mile from the live in Jersey City, about a mile from Journal Square PATH Station. Over the last 12 years, I've been a daily bike commuter to Journal Square. And for me, the Unipod has two main personal benefits. First, the pod means that I have a safe, secure place to put my bike outside of the elements. I don't have to worry about the bike being stolen or vandalized, despite the very strong police presence in Journal Square with Port Authority police all over that place. There have been many bike thefts from the racks at the station over the years I've been using it. So I don't have to worry about that. I also don't have to worry about somebody cutting my seat or taking parts off the bike or having the bike vandalized. That's happened to me many times over the years. So that's a huge benefit. It's something I'm already pretty hardcore bike person. This just makes it easier for me, which is great. The second thing is that the second big personal benefit for me is that in urban cycling, there's a big, strong safety in numbers effect. The more cyclists that are out there on the roads, the more likely it is that drivers will expect to see us there, and our interactions with cars and trucks and buses and other users of the roads and pedestrians are the likelihood of having safe interactions with all those road users increases. So it becomes safer for all of us, especially those of us on bikes. And having the Unipod in Journal Square, I think, is going to encourage many people who are taking the overcrowded bus or taking an Uber or a Lyft to, instead of and causing, clogging the roads, causing more traffic, they'll consider riding their bike there because this facility is available. So that's something that'll, again, will have a personal impact on me, making it safer for me, as well as all those other people. I hope Port Authority will continue to work with UNI to expand the facility at Journal Square and add them wherever possible on Port Authority properties. Thank you.
Thank you. John Yushin Reese. Okay. Tanzig Yang Chen. Harley Polak.
Hello, my name is Harley. I wanted to start by thanking the board on their leadership for allowing the pilot of UNI to take place. Currently, I live in Brooklyn. I have been a former Jersey City resident, though. I wish that it was around when I lived here. I studied sustainability, and in college I actually authored a report on recommendations to reduce single-use trips, and I surveyed a bunch of students at my university as to why they drive alone to school, and I found that for many of them, biking would be a potentially effective and convenient option, but the lack of secure bike parking is a deterrent, and they are not alone. Myself, the primary reason that I don't bike more is lack of secure bike parking, surveys and studies have consistently shown that to be among the top reasons that people don't bike more. In fact, one study from Transportation Alternatives found that 39% of people that either never ride, used to ride, or infrequently ride cited lack of bike parking as the #1 reason for that. 50% of urban cyclists have experienced bike theft at some point, including 10% that have experienced it on 3 or more occasions. And I just wanted to hit on the point that most of what has been said here today is actually echoed in the idea of expanding Unipod. There's been a lot of talk of how to reduce carbon emissions and footprints, and last mile issues are actually a significant portion of the carbon that is actually used in the overall transportation process. Even when someone is using public transit, if they're driving to the station, they could use significantly more times carbon than that. I've been a fan of Unipod ever since I first heard about their first location in Lower Manhattan, and the fact that they've already met capacity and have a waiting list shows overwhelming demand for this sort of concept, and it should be expanded to the rest of the Port Authority's facilities. Thank you for letting me speak.
Hey, Harley, if you want to give a copy of your academic report or the report you cited to our secretary at some point, that would be great. I'm sure the board would love to read it.
Yeah, I would.
Thank you. Vincent Marchetto?
Hello, my name is Vincent Marchetto, and I'm a board member of the Journal Square Community Association. But I came here as a private citizen and a path user, a resident of Journal Square. And again, I just wanted to reiterate that we support the Unipod, and it's been a tremendous success for the neighborhood. Many residents use it, and there's been a lot of positive feedback. There's already been a lot said about the Unipod, so I'm not going to go into much of it, but I just wanted to touch on the future of Journal Square, and I wanted to talk about how the Journal Square redevelopment plan has called for the creation of 14,000 new residential units, and you see them being built now in the form of high-rise development. At the same time, Jersey City is also building out a protected bike lane network. They just built a protected bike lane on Bergen Avenue. They built one on Washington. They built one on Montgomery. And ultimately, what they'd like to do is build a connected network that connects all the PATH stations together. And as part of that, as the region urbanizes and the protected bike lane networks grow in these areas, it'd be really important for Port Authority to provide more secure bike parking at all of its stations. And that's it. I just look forward to expansion of cycling and scooter infrastructure at your facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter Franco?
Peter Franco, thank you board members for having me. I came out from Bayonne, 17 Linden Street. Guys like me aren't riding bikes. It's nice to hear that we're doing the green initiative and all of that stuff, but we have some major issues here. The increase, the financial impact on some of the working class people is a concern to me. You're reducing peak and off-peak discounts. You're increasing bus tolls. We're putting a bigger burden on New Jersey Transit. I was glad to see the $4 ground access fee at airports reduced to $2.50, and then the group share on that. But I still think that's pretty significant. I rode here in a Lyft today, and the driver mentioned that there's an overall decline in volume. This person happened to work in Bayonne, and normally during a 10-hour shift, they would bring anywhere from $300 to $250 in. Now they're seeing a reduction of 10 hours, basically down to 200 is the max is what they're bringing in. Now this is a result of many different things. Uber raising their rates, the surge pricing onto the consumer, but I'm a little concerned when we add this ground access fee, how that's going to impact the people in our community that ultimately utilize the ride share as an employment opportunity to offset their income. Senator Weinberg had mentioned something earlier that I thought was really important, that New Jersey Transit can't really absorb this financial increase to them, specifically talking about the bus, the increase on the buses, and it's a double trip, exactly what she said, to where they're coming over, dropping people off, coming back with an empty bus, bringing an empty bus back, and then coming back with the passengers. The Hudson-Bergen Light Rail, which is a big part of New Jersey Transit, has a daily ridership of 51,000 people. Jersey City is about to surpass Manhattan on apartments that are built. Bayonne, in the past 5 years, has approved 10,000 new units, most of which are not even in the construction phase yet. This redevelopment presents a substantial logistical challenge to New Jersey Transit. They have recently expanded half of their fleet to the 5-section vehicles. However, they're limited to the platform structure. They're limited to increasing the rides because it rides through downtown Jersey City and would create incalculable delays. So I think that the last thing we should be doing is forcing greater financial burden on New Jersey Transit, and I hope that you would reconsider the toll increase on the buses. Thank you.
Manuel Camacho?
Good afternoon. Just wanted to thank you for bringing in the bike infrastructure at Journal Square Unipod. Being a new bike user, it never crossed my mind to be able to commute to Journal Square with the several bike thefts that occur at the Journal Square location and also at Exchange Place. But that all changed last night as I was able to commute to work at Journal Square for the first time and have that peace of mind to come in the morning and see my bike still there, locked up, secured. So I anticipate that in future that you can expand to other locations like Exchange Place that's near the path, Hoboken and Newport, and also other areas in New York City to give cyclists, electric bike riders and scooter riders that peace of mind and security that we all need to commute to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Sebu Sid Abi?
My name is Saibu Sidibi, and I'm a taxi driver. I used to drive Yellow, and I switched to Uber, and I'm a proud member for New York Taxi Worker Alliance, and I'm also an organizer. So today I'm here to really thank the board for accepting to negotiate with our union because we had a general meeting, and we inform about that, and we thank you for that, because it shows a beginning of something that never happened before. We feel that drivers now are being considered beginning as part of the airport, but there is more we need to be done, and we see some beginning of facilities as we show at the airport. But we also want to mention there's a lot of things to do, like about the facilities. We like the restaurant to be, the food to be improved, and also, as we said, the airport, the waiting time, which will be solved also if there is, a way for drivers to control also the flight, arrival and departure. So. Most of my concern have been already mentioned by my predecessor, who is also a driver like me, and I won't be long. But as the bathroom also, our concern, we want the workers not to really show that what they're doing. They need to get the tips from the drivers. The tips cannot be like something like obligatory. So if we want, we have to give it. But the way it is, like we're doing service, it's like we're waiting for something to be done. So if Puerto Rico can see, even put a sign, telling this worker that we're doing this because they've been paying for that, that will really be appreciated by the drivers. So I don't have much to say. As we see facility, we see beginning of something being done, and we really encourage to go on this, and we keep negotiating with the union. And I think for us, this will be a great thing. And we have to be part, as my predecessor said, of the New Century Airport, because drivers are part of the airport 24 hours. So I'm driving, and I see we have a lot of information from our riders, and we really want to continue working with Port Authority. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joshua Pierre?
Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Mark Pierre. I'm an artist from Brooklyn, and I've come here today to thank the Port Authority for collaborating with UNI to bring secure bike parking to Journal Square, and express my desire to see it brought to more areas. I love riding my bike around the city. It's a healthy and convenient way to travel, but bike parking is always an issue. There are barely any bike racks in the city, and even when there are, someone can just come up and just clip my lock and run away with my bike. That's why I love UNI. It provides security and protection for your bike. It's great to see the Port Authority taking action to address the issues of bicycle and scooter parking. So keep up the great work. And I hope the Port Authority can bring UNI to more communities, because we can really benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Javed Tariq?
Good afternoon. My name is Javed Tariq. I'm co-founder of Taxi Workers Alliance. I just came here because Bharvi Desai, who is our leader, she is unable to come here today because she is at this time in Washington, D.C., in front of U.S. Housing Financial Committee to testify about taxi drivers' loan forgiveness. So we are very pleased to hear this all things. At that day, we have a night meeting with drivers. First time ever our drivers felt that their voice got heard by Port Authority. Even though our beloved governor of Como, he never talked with us and put a $2.50 the congestion prices. But we appreciated that Port Authority they listen us, and they giving us so much back, especially respect, because before taxi driver never liked Port Authority. But at that night when we have meetings, they were so happy. They feel the part of Port Authority and willing to work together in good manners, and if we're looking forward in future to get their demand done quickly, and they will try to give their services in very good manners. and I'm thankful to you. And please, the main issue is also still taxi driver has about dispatchers' temperaments and their dealing with drivers where driver don't feel respect. And the main thing is hustling. Because two days ago, I went to JFK Airport by myself to pick up one of my relatives, and I was there on Terminal 4 for 3 hours standing. I see there, here and there, the hustlers are openly calling to the people. This is not good for the visitors because they got cheated. There is no insurance. So please, we have to look forward daily basis, tracking down these hustlers, and the working class, hardworking people can earn proper money. Thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation with Taxi Worker Alliance, and we are very happy to work with you guys.
Thank you very much. Charlene Tellerico, last speaker.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As we all know, on August 4th, 2016, I was physically assaulted and injured by Diane Eller, who, with criminal charges pending against her, was promoted to the director of TB&T. Since then, the Inspector General's Office of the Port Authority has done everything in their power to protect her and discredit me. Let's review their actions prior to August 4th and since. Per PA policy, I met with the Inspector General's office regarding the hostile, abusive environment I was forced to endure at the Lincoln Tunnel, only to be told by them, we don't handle these matters. I contacted the Inspector General's office again after I received another anonymous note stating, your next job will be the unemployment line. I was told they would look into it and have it fingerprinted. Needless to say, I never heard another word about it, and all my phone calls were ignored. On the morning of August 4th, 2016, after being assaulted by Diane Eller, I again called the Inspector General's office for assistance per PA policy. The detective called me back late in the afternoon and told me, we do not handle these matters. Days after I was assaulted, I received a call from the Inspector General's detective requesting to meet. I agreed with the conditions we would meet in the safety and security of my home with a witness. The next call I received from the detective, he told me they would not come to my home. To be clear, they never spoke with me. Yet, the Inspector General's office sent the Weehawken prosecutor investigative reports. My question is, how did they send investigative reports when they never spoke to the victim? How complete were those reports? The Inspector General's office sent 5, count them 5, officers to go speak with the Weehawken prosecutor. If that's not intimidation, I don't know what is. Another example is when the Inspector General's detective lied to the Weehawken prosecutor. He stated my medical examination was not filmed and it wasn't a doctor in the video. Correcting the mistake after you're caught does not change the fact that you lied. The Inspector General's office refused to assist me and for years refused to allow me to put in civilian complaints. In March of this year, after we found out that my original complaints that were accepted over a year and a half after the incident were ignored and nothing was done with, I was finally allowed to put in civilian complaints. Unfortunately, it's the Inspector General's office that investigates the civilian complaints, the same people that ignored the first set and wouldn't allow me to even submit them until Chief Billich got involved. However, under the leadership of Huntley Lawrence, the chairman of the Civilian Complaint Review Board, I am now hopeful that the truth will finally prevail. I could go on and on with more instances of wrongdoing, but I think you get my point. I believe the actions and the evidence proves the Inspector General's Office of the Port Authority is incapable of doing an honest, unbiased, thorough investigation into the assault and injury I suffered at the hands of Diane Eller on August 4th, 2016. Because of their actions, it is my belief the Inspector General's Office of the Port Authority needs to be investigated, and I call on you to do such a thing. Every Port Authority policy says when any kind of abuse happens, you go to the Inspector General's office. I followed policy time and again, only to be ignored. Remember, I will never, ever give up until the truth prevails. Thank you.
That closes out the public portion. We will now proceed with the voting of items for the board's consideration. Each of the respective committee chairs will provide a brief report prior to the matter being considered today. As Chair of the Committee on Operations, our first item, as presented earlier by our Chief Financial Officer, authorizes proposed changes in the toll schedules for vehicular interstate crossings, the path fare, and other fees. As a matter of efficiency, the Port Authority and path boards will be voting on all these changes as one vote. Prior to making a motion on this, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals.
There were no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Motion, please.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
Yes.
Item is approved. Our next order of business, which was presented by our Chief Development Officer, is a resolution that authorizes proposed changes to the Port Authority 2017-2026 capital plan. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals.
There are no recusals.
Any commissioners have a question or comment on this item? Motion, please.
So moved.
Your second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
Item is approved. The next item, which is presented in public session earlier today, authorizes an operation, maintenance, and concessions management agreement at the New York Stewart International Airport with Future Stewart Partners LLC and its affiliates for a 10-year term with one 5-year renewal option and a 180-day extension period, as well as an accompanying lease for concession space within the passenger terminal. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Secretary if there are any commissioner recusals.
There are no recusals.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners? I ask for a motion. Here, second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
Item is approved. The next item authorizes a lease with Annie Moore's Bar and Restaurant for the operation of a restaurant on the first floor of the Port Authority's Bus Terminal's South Wing for a 5-year and 3-month term at the aggregate rent of approximately $3.8 million. This lease also contains a 5-year extension period, exercisable at Annie Moore's option. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals.
There are no recusals.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, a motion, please.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
The item is approved. Vice Chair Linford, as Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, will now provide his report on certain items before the board for their consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, Management, Asset Management, and the World Trade Center Redevelopment Subcommittee, I will now report on 3 items under the respective committees' purview. The first item, which was discussed in committee earlier today, authorizes a project to rehabilitate the underside of the George Washington Bridge's lower level at an estimated total project cost of approximately $311.7 million. Prior to making a motion on this item, I will ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I request a motion on this item.
Second.
Thank you. I now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
As the votes are in order, the item is approved. The next item authorizes the expenditure of planning funds in the amount of $5 million for the development of a project to rehabilitate portions of the Port Authority Bus Terminal's concrete roadway wearing course. Prior to making a motion on this item, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions or comments on this item? I now request a motion on this item.
So moved.
The second, please.
Second.
Thank you. I now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve. Yes. Commissioner Horowitz. Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
Thank you. As the votes are in order, the item is approved. On behalf of the World Trade Center Site Redevelopment Subcommittee, I will now submit an item for the board's consideration that authorizes additional funding in an amount not to exceed $1.8 million towards the cost of the permanent memorial at the World Trade Center to honor all those who assisted in the rescue and recovery efforts at the site following the tragic events of September 11, 1981. Prior to making this motion on this item, I asked the corporate secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I now request a motion on this item.
Second.
Thank you. I now request the corporate secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
As the votes are in order, the item is approved, and I now take the time to send it over to our chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Eve, as Chair of the Committee on Security, will now provide her report on an item before the board for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Chair of the Committee on Security, I am recommending that the Board authorize the expenditure of planning funds in the amount of $3.8 million to develop a project and award early action work to upgrade the perimeter intrusion detection systems that serve John F. Kennedy International, Newark Liberty International, LaGuardia, and Teterboro airports. Prior to making a motion on this item, I ask the corporate secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? I now request a motion on this item.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I now request the corporate secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
As the votes are in order, the item is approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Eve. I now ask Commissioner Bagger to provide his report as Chair of the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Chairman O'Toole. As Chair of the Committee on Finance, I'm recommending to the committee for consideration a resolution authorizing the purchase of public liability insurance coverage for all facilities of the Port Authority and its component units. As this is a matter that the board has delegated to the Finance Committee, this is a vote of the Finance Committee only. Before making a motion, I'd ask the corporate secretary to note any committee member recusals.
There are no recusals.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? If not, can I have a motion from a committee member?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Now request the corporate secretary to call the roll of the Committee on Finance for voting on this item.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Eve.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
The votes are in order. That item is approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Bagger. Commissioner McCabe, as Chair of the Audit Committee, will now provide his report on an item for the Audit Committee's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Chair of the Audit Committee, I wish to recommend a resolution authorizing the retention of the agency's external auditors for 2019. This will be a vote of the Audit Committee members only. Following a competitive direct solicitation process and due review of the proposals received, KPMG LLP was selected by the committee to be retained as independent auditors for the year ending December 31st, 2019. This item also authorizes the extension of these services through 2025, subject to annual retention based upon the satisfactory performance and determined by the Audit Committee. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the Corporate Secretary to note any committee members' recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Do any of the commissioners have any comments? Mr. Chair, if I could, I would just like to recognize the staff and thank for their due diligence in this throughout this process. To them, thank you very much. I will now request a motion from committee members who are not recused on this item.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I will now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll call of the committee members present for voting on this item.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
As the votes are in order, the item is approved. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. There being no further business, we move to adjourn. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Meeting's now adjourned.